cultures class. My first thought was, this guy is huge. But after getting to know him, I became unbelievably impressed with him as a student. So impressed that I tried to get him to join my forensics team so he could compete with these two. He told me he was busy, which is the ultimate student excuse. Of course, I soon learned that he was playing football, basketball, baseball, serving in student congress, and maintaining all A's. So he was busy. It wasn't an excuse at all. My fondest memory, however, of Tommy isn't a classroom memory at all. In fact, it's of a time when I wasn't even in the presence of him. It was Thanksgiving weekend, when he as a junior had just helped win the school's football state championship. And I was watching highlights on TV. A number of the members of the team had been interviewed, and they said the kinds of things that you would expect, and which are great. They said they thanked their parents. They said things about how they really relied on their teammates. They talked about great plays and strong performances. But then they interviewed Tommy, and I think it was his dad interviewing him, and I teared up a little, and the first thing that came out of his mouth was thanks to God. To me, that's the perfect image of not just Tommy goals, but what we hope our students will be. And I think that sentiment will come out in his words to you today. So let me proudly introduce Tommy Goals. First of all, Kate, Sophie, great job. I don't think I'll be quite that entertaining. Also, thanks to Mr. Carson for the introduction. He's a great teacher, great person, and as he said, he taught my speech class, so hopefully I won't disappoint him. It really is an honor to be here today and to represent the students who have been impacted by Christian education. The fact that you're here today also tells me that Christian education means something to you, and I thank you for that. We acknowledge that Christian education is a sacrifice, but I hope that I can convey the message that the sacrifice is most definitely worth it. I'm not just going to present to you a well-organized speech today, but I want to speak from the heart because this means something to me. I think to a certain extent, we're a product of the environment we come up in. And I couldn't have asked for any better place to come up, except for Key West Christian High School. I learned in my speech class that well-placed humor is a good thing, but discipline hard. But being serious, I thank God daily for my family, friends, and pertaining to our topic today, my school community. John Piper, in a famous sermon, talked about living an unwasted life. He says so many people go through life without passion, without longing to live a life of eternal significance. They waste their lives. He goes on to say that the way to live an unwasted life is to put Christ on display no matter where you are. I read a book called Bleed for God's Sake that talks about this. It talks about the priority list that so many people make. God, country, family, friends, school, something like that. It says God's way too big for you. You can't fit God on a list. Christ should be the center of everything that you do in your life. He should be the reason I'm motivated to do well in the classroom and on the field. He should be at the center of my relationships with my family, with my girlfriend, something like that. What Christian education seeks to do is to ingrain students with that Christ-centered mindset. Teach students and enable them to put Christ on display in their lives. Now, I'll talk about my path to Christian education. I come from a traditional path. I'm from the Christian Reformed Church. I can tell you question answer number 1 of the Heidelberg Catechism. It started on a summer day in 1991 when my dad went to my grandpa's car lot to ask me about my mom's hand in marriage. He said all I had. Thankfully, he said yes. He said, I ask that you treat her well and that you provide your kids with a Christian education. It meant something to him. He understood that it's a sacrifice, but he understood that it's worth it. So I was provided. I was blessed with a Christian education. Started at Seymour Christian, then Sylvan Christian School, the school I take the most pride in today. Grand Rapids Christian Middle School, and Lord willing, in a couple of weeks I'll graduate from Grand Rapids Christian High School. This path in Christian education has encompassed my entire faith journey.
have a teacher named Josh Rosen. Now, Mr. Rosenbaum, first of all, he's famous for corny joke Friday. We have those same bells at our school. We figured out it's an A natural. That is completely arbitrary to our discussion today. See where it is. Okay, so cheesy joke Friday. I thought about telling a few of those jokes, but I'd be stealing his thunder and it's not Friday. But more importantly, on the top of this class syllabus is Philippians 1 verse 16. We have been put here in defense of the gospel. Now I can tell you how excited that verse gets me, or how much that means to a Christian with a redemptive mindset. But it also shows us something about our teachers here. They wouldn't be here if they didn't believe in the cause. If Christian education didn't mean something to them too. Faith has to be prioritized in Christian education. And at this school, it really is. I'm going to share just a couple stories about my path. A few things that have been defining and meaningful to me. And regarding stories, everyone has a story. And I couldn't possibly tell all of mine. I know all of you have stories about Christian education. I hope that you'll tell those stories. And that you'll ask people you know in the system. Because everyone's got something to say. One would be, this past Christmas, our family, about a week before, was around the dinner table, and my girlfriend Haley was over too. My mom started reading out of them too. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that census should take the entire Roman Empire. And then we chimed in, just naturally. It was the first census taken when Quirinius was governor of Syria, on. And at the end, we looked up, saw my mom was crying. Bless her heart, she is sentimental in the best way. But she said, I see Christian education paying off. I see that the kids have been taught the Word of God. Now it's natural. It's able to flow out, ingrained with them. Now the Word of God means a lot to me. And I've been blessed with friends. It means a lot to them too. I have friends where we can freak out because we're so excited about a verse from John 16. We call it God gossip when we start talking about this. One time we were at Steak and Shake and got into a conversation about this. Later, another couple came up to our table and said they wanted to pay our bill. It meant something to them to hear Christ being used in a public setting. That's cool. Spiritual moments happen on a larger scale too. One of my first major ones was in Guatemala in 2011. Mrs. Claver led a trip there. I still consider it to be the best week of my life, a spiritual awakening for me. You may know about the winter program in our school. It is unbelievable the kinds of opportunities that we're given at this young age. For me, it was an internship in the federal justice system my junior year. And then this past year, going to Italy. And there, whether it was touring St. Peter's Cathedral or giving a cheap umbrella and 40 euros to a crippled man on the streets of Rome, there's spiritual moments everywhere that mean so much. And again, stories. Winter uses so many stories. We're blessed with opportunities like that. As I said, I think we're a product of the environment we're in. And a large part of that is the leaders and role models in the environment. I've been blessed with both leaders and role models. Different verse now. Hebrews 13 verse 7 says to remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Consider the outcome of their way of life and imitate their faith. I was blessed with leaders. I'll start with the football team. My freshman year, you may remember Matt Grassman. He was the starting quarterback. As freshmen, we looked up to him as a larger-than-life example of character-driven, competitive servant leadership. Imitate their faith. We saw that. We were drawn to them. So that when we were placed in leadership roles, we wanted to reflect the things that we saw with leaders before us. Or my sophomore year, transitioned into varsity football, which is a hard transition. Mitch Cananda, he was my squadron leader. That's the captain of the offensive line. He helped me transition, gave me the confidence I needed, but also he'd give me a ride before school to workouts. And then during 2 days, long 8-hour practices in the summer. Afterwards, he'd invite me to Roots, a student-led spiritual life group. He'd give me rides there. that means a lot. It's a big deal to have a leader like that. Imitate their faith. The things that we saw, we would pass down. The spiritual life group Roots. Eventually, a couple of my friends started Fellowship Friday, a similar spiritual life group after football games where students would meet and get into the Word. Having leaders means a lot. I also have a sister who's 2 years older than me. And when we were underclassmen, her group of friends, they showed me what was cool. These kids, they were passionate about their faith. They cared about academics and community. They didn't care about social status at all, yet they're the most influential kids in the school. Now, we looked up to that. We wanted to imitate that faith. Leaders can define the culture and show what is cool. And student leadership means so much to me. Another thing I've seen in my time here is change. It's been physical change. Since I was in preschool, to name a few, there's been the Center for Arts and Worship, this new school, the Quest Center, the football stadium, soon to be the middle school, and probably the new school that we're in this year at the high school. But I've also seen changes in the student body. I've seen diversity grow. Now, I'm not even going to scratch the surface of this issue, but diversity is a good thing. And the school's having a conversation about this at the highest levels, yet they're involving students. Diversity means a lot to our school. And we're talking about this, and I'm sure you'll hear more about this from the school. Now, like any sport, playing football for me has been a privilege. I don't want to be completely defined by the sport of football, but it has had a huge impact on my identity and on my near future. It's been the most impactful experience of high school for me, and that's because of ACE. ACE is an attitude and effort with Christ in the center, and it's what our football program is based on. I wrote a 10-page paper on ACE. I could talk about this for a long time. But the thing about ACE is that it's not just about football. It's what our football program is based on, but it's about life. And that's what sports do for students. That's why you use words like student athletes or educational athletics. It's because life lessons can be taught here. Stuff that you can carry with you for the rest of your lives. Now, football has also had an impact on my confidence, my development, and my future now. Coming into high school, I just wanted to get into one of the service academies, but I didn't believe I could. Now, about a year ago, I turned down offers from each of the service academies because I felt led to a better option for me at Northwestern. Now, this happens because I had a coach who believed in me more than I believed in myself, and a program that was going to get the most out of its students. The football program has given me a lot, and the scholarship at Northwestern is valuable, but I can honestly say it'd be completely worth it if I wasn't getting any money out of it. Now, at this point, if you want to ask me a question about the unionization of college football at Northwestern, believe me, you would not be the first person to wonder that. And I'd be happy to talk to you afterwards. But I want you to remember that our football program stands for the right things, and it has done more for my development in character, in leadership, and in confidence and maturity than anything else in high school. I look back on these defining moments, and I see God work. I also want to give credit to the school for facilitating experiences such as this. But to whom much is given, much is expected. And that's why the mission statement here means so much. Preparing students to be effective servants for Christ in contemporary society. Contemporary society is diverse, it's advanced, but we want to be in it the right way. Effective servants for Christ. Now, service at Grand Rapids Christian has two parts. I think it's to be inspired and to be enabled. Inspired. Every day when I walk into the social studies conference, there's a quote by Winston Churchill. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. The attitude is ingrained in the students. We're taught to look past ourselves. What can you do for others? How can you be the hands and feet of Jesus? And then we're enabled. We're given the opportunities to serve, to act like this. For me, it's been through the Rotary Club of Grand Rapids, National Honor Society, student leadership groups, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Kids Life Bible Club. So many different opportunities to serve, and so much joy in serving. Now, there are so many more stories I can tell. So many people I wish I could thank or tell you about the impact that they have on different people. I can tell you about how Mrs. Peterson taught me how to read in first grade. Mr. Voss and Mr. Hooper taught a meaningful Bible class in 8th grade. Mr. Diekman taught my favorite class of high school. Mr. Padilla taught an important lesson through a chapel speech, or how Mark Kuiper helps so many different students on a day-to-day basis. The list goes on, but we are on the clock. Now, they didn't ask me to come here today and put the school on the pedestal, but I see a lot of good happening. Granted, kids do throw away potential with substance abuse. It's sad. A blow-off schoolwork and waste of potential there. Kids do torment each other with gossip. But why I see so much good is because I see a mindset that says we can fix what's broken. On one side, you've got a student tormenting someone weaker than him. You've got kids gossiping. But over here, you've got a group of student leaders coming up and saying, "Are you kidding me? We're not going to put up with that. Not in our school." A campaign, Be Nice, started just yesterday. There was a chapel. Creation, fall, redemption, restoration, it happens every day, and you can see it. In closing, my hope is that I can find success at Northwestern, but my prayer is that I'll remain true to myself and honor Christ in all that I do. I believe I'm ready for this. Parents are the most influential kids in a child's life. They're the most important teachers. You might have been without any doubt. One of the more important things they did for me was send me to a Christian school. One more time, preparing students to be effective servants for Christ in contemporary society. I'd say that's something to believe in. That's something to invest in. Because with Christian education, no institution can guarantee the success of its students, but the school gives students the best opportunity to succeed in this world the right way. This is done by offering the highest level of academics, but more importantly, by enabling us to put Christ on display in our lives. Thank you for coming today. God bless.
Mr. Karsten, Sophie, Kate, Tommy, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't know how many times you hear a 17-year-old talk about creation, fall, redemption, restoration. I don't hear it that often, and you can't hear it enough. And I think that's a wonderful testimony. So, Tommy, thank you for reminding us all about what we do, and more importantly, why we do it. It's an honor to be here today. It's an honor to close us in our time together. And it's an incredible testimony, I think, that our students provide to us about when we write that check for tuition payment for my two children, Christian Middle and Christian High, when you make your gift on an annual basis to Grand Rapids Christian. I hope you remember things like this. I hope you remember the stories. I hope you remember when you were at Christian, or when your kids went through Grand Rapids Christian, or perhaps when your great or grandchildren are attending. Because that is why we do what we do, and it's an honor to be a part of it, and thank you for that privilege. There are two things at your table, just in passing, so that you know why they are there. The first one, we annually produce this flesh brochure, and it reminds us all about the importance of estate planning. There's a story in there. I hope that you take the time to read it. It's the olive-colored brochure. Somebody came up to me as I was greeting people today, and the person said to me, "Are there new people joining the Flesh Society?" And for those of you that don't know, the Flesh Society are individuals who have included Grand Rapids Christian Schools in their will or in their estate plan. It's a group of 185 people. It's a growing group of people. And then I was reminded of something that we're doing tonight. Well, about 5 years ago, we started a group called Blue Black. Blue-black are Grand Rapids Christian's colors. Blue and black. For those of you that remember, those school colors came from East Christian and Central Christian. We took a color from each school when we formed East Christian and Central closed, and we got those two colors. And so we called this group of young parents and young alum between 25 and 35, we call them blue-black. And about 75 of them are getting together tonight for a reception because they're all giving to Grand Rapids Christian. They're having their kids here. They're involved here. And so when I think about the next generation of the Flesh Society, I think of blue-black because they're starting at such an early age and staying connected to Grand Rapids Christian. And it's an honor to host them tonight in their evening of entertainment and reflection on that student body. The other piece that you have at your desk is a brochure on what's called the Next Chapter. And that is our effort to renovate, as Tommy talked about, Grand Rapids Christian Middle School, the new home over at the old Shawnee Park School. And we look forward to greeting kids there in about 18 months. And there's an update on that campaign in there, and I hope that you read it and listen to it and participate. Thank you all very much for coming today. The state of the foundation is in very good shape. And more importantly, I'm just so deeply grateful that you all took the time out of your schedule to come, to hear Tommy, to listen to Sophie and Kate, and to be entertained, and to be reminded of why we do what we do, because it's essential that we do it, and it's essential that we keep going. Please feel free to stay, look at some of the artwork, greet one of our students, talk to one of our staff members. The rest of the afternoon is yours to choose. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for coming.